Welcome to No Bad Charts, the podcast hosted by three therapists at the cosmic intersection of internal family systems and astrology. I'm Sarah.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Shay.
Each month, we invite a guest and our listeners to get to know their parts, access self-energy, and map their inner world more fully through the expansive lens of the zodiac. All charts and all parts welcome. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Gemini season and our third episode of No Bad Charts. We are very excited to be joined today by Gregory Tilden. Melissa's here also co-hosting. Greg, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey y'all, my name is Greg Tilden. I am a LMFT therapist out here in the North Bay area of California, and I've been an astrology nerd since I was roughly 9 years old, got deep into it at 19. I'm also a musician, and as a therapist, I specialize in work with neurodivergence, adolescents, kids, men's work, queer folks, and creative stuff. Really excited to be on this podcast. It's my first time ever doing something like this, and just curious what will come up here in this Gemini season vibe.
Yeah. I love how, like, for me, this is such a Gemini energy of like, it's me and like my two friends that I met on the internet. And like, we're joining together in this conversation here. Like, yeah, like both of you are important people in my life, but it's like, yeah, like we're having this like friends meeting friends feels like a very like fun, nice Gemini energy.
Yeah, third house, neighborly kind of vibes. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And Melissa, you have some Gemini parts too, right?
Oh, yeah. I have a Gemini stellium in the 10th house. If you're looking in whole sign, I believe it's at least partially ninth house if you're looking at other chart systems. But yeah, so I'm excited to talk Gemini.
Cool.
Talk
What
Gemini.
is your stellium?
It is North Node, Chiron, MC, Mercury, and Mars.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Some
I'm
potent Gemini
stacked. I'm
vibe. I
also
love
stacked in
that.
Sag, so it's like a, yeah,
You got
bow
the
tie.
polarities. Nice.
Yeah.
It's well balanced. All right. We'll start out with just kind of tuning into those parts of us that actually might need some more Gemini energy or maybe have had some burdens around Gemini energy. It's just going to be a short little reflection. So you can close your eyes or stare at the floor or zone out in typical Gemini fashion, whatever works. So I'm going to invite you to notice any parts of you that could use some permission to participate more fully in your life. These may have been parts of you that in childhood were told to sit still, mind their own business, stop fidgeting, pay attention. Parts that learned not to raise their hand. Don't ask questions you don't already know the answer to. Notice the toll it took on these parts to try to be small and quiet, and how that shows up in your life now. Now imagine a world where it's not only safe, but encouraged to ask more questions, even silly ones, even hard ones. Notice what it would be like for these parts of you to be met with curiosity instead of judgment. For them to have permission to really be a beginner. To learn something new without the pressure of mastering it. Permission to be flexible, to fidget and move and play in all the ways that feel right. and connect with others who want to play and ask questions too. Notice what happens in your body when that energy and permission and space to open up is offered. Letting these parts know that it's safe to be with you in their original, authentic, connected way anytime. And whenever that feels complete and you feel ready, you can bring yourself back to the room. I noticed that for me, it helped my chironic Gemini parts be like, oh yeah, like it's okay. Like you can say the wrong thing and it's not the end of the world. You can, yeah, I feel like Gemini just like has this really authentic curiosity to it of like, let's make this messy and like, let's just grab this puzzle box, even if we're not sure if all the pieces are in it, right? And just like, let's start to just play around with it, figure it out. So yeah, I'm curious how it landed for either of you.
Yeah, I felt like some inner child playfulness and like kind of a like just a little happy smile in my heart vibe, and I also felt some gratitude for just the awareness that I think I'm feeling that a lot right now. I have a friend visiting me who is a best friend who is a Sagittarius sun and a Gemini moon, and yesterday we just got into some deep philosophical conversations, and I found myself sharing some taboo thoughts and asking questions that I think alone a lot but never get out. So. Definitely, I'm feeling that. Yeah.
Nice. Love that.
That's awesome. When you said the word fidgeting, looked down and noticed how I was fidgeting. Like my hands were moving during the meditation and my toes. And normally I'm more chill when I meditate, but because we're also like being perceived and we're about to lead a podcast, I have too much adrenaline to fully relax. So actually felt like my Gemini was very active and it was just funny to think about like talking in class and the teacher getting mad at me but like on a podcast, it's perfectly acceptable to be completely in Gemini energy, right?
Yeah, it's like the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels kind of nice. I'm gonna pull up Greg's chart so we can take a look at it because there's something you said, Greg, that I'm like, oh, this is exactly kind of a thought that I was having.
Yes, it is my life.
Yes, it is my life. The life of one Gregory Tilden. Yeah, I was like looking at I mean, I've looked at your chart many times, of course, like over the 3 years of our friendship, but I was really like thinking more about like, oh, like that eighth house Gemini and like those questions that like you're not allowed to ask, right? Like you don't talk about that at the dinner table or like you don't. So yeah, I was kind of curious and you kind of touched on it in your like description of that like connection and going deep and like talking about the taboo.
Yeah.
So I'm also curious about like I guess kind of both sides of that experience of like, hey, like here are spaces and relationships in your life where that's welcome. And then other places where it's like, oh, like this is hitting on other people's wounds that they're not maybe ready to kind of, yeah, just kind of curious, like that seesaw.
Yeah, I feel like right now with this particular friend visiting, I'm seesawing much more on like the wow, I can share, I can say so much, but um yeah, I feel like I haven't had a ton of outlets where I feel like that spark lately. So it's nice to remember that it's always there. And I think in the eighth house aspect too, like it's also okay if it's not always something that can breach into conversation because I also enjoy like the depth and curiosity in solitude as well when that's where the winds are flowing.
Yeah.
Definitely comes up in my work with clients a lot too. Just like being able to talk about the stuff that they have like no other space to talk about. I actually got that a few reflections from clients in the past week of just like, yeah, I don't have any friends that I talk about this with, and we're just really grateful to be able to hold that space for people. A little sad that it's like not more normalized to be everywhere, but yeah, glad that I can help facilitate that energy.
Yeah, and I feel like that's so necessary. And to me, it's like one of the honors of like being a therapist, right? Is like sitting in those conversations and emotions and spaces with people where they're like, oh, like, yeah, like we don't have these conversations other places, but they're so like necessary and healing and yeah, there's something maybe freeing about it too. Like, oh, like we can just talk about this. Like, wow.
Yeah, but then it's interesting too, like to be in the perspective of me as like the bearer of eighth house energy, where it's like, damn, like I do that all day too, and like some people don't do that ever, and it can be tiring to hold at times. But also fundamentally, I'm in service of that eighth house energy of like transformation through going into the darkness and coming out the with a little more ninth house freedom and like fun, just like yeah, we just made it through that.
Kind of makes me want to ask you, like, what's your favorite taboo topic? But that might be too taboo. So, like, is there a topic in the eighth house that you want to raise with us that you find as a special interest?
A special interest eighth house topic? I mean, eighth house I feel like is just like such a complex house in terms of all that it can possibly hold. I mean, I remember when I first started learning about it and like they said like it's connected also to astrology and esoteric studies. I'm just like, oh, that all makes sense. I don't think there's one in particular that's calling to me today, but yeah, I just am aware that I feel easeful talking about like sex, death, and rock and roll.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. I guess I wonder too, like when I think about the eighth house, I also think about like what was allowed, and especially with Gemini, like what was allowed to talk about growing up versus like what kind of had to be built into your own, like, oh, like this, I can't really bring this out here, so I'm gonna, or like, I don't know, like I feel like the image that's coming to mind is just like a kid that like very innocently and honestly like says the thing, and then
Mm.
there's like, no, like that's not, like we don't do
Um,
that.
yeah, I can kind of relate to just like my experience growing up, bringing up some of the shadows of my mom's psyche, I think, which was not always not ever my intention, just being a kid. But yeah, there was a certain discomfort sometimes that I would witness getting triggered in her growing up.
Yeah, just like from that natural, I feel like there is like kind of an innocence to Gemini, right? It's just
Yeah,
like I just like stumbled into this. I wasn't trying to.
right. For me, it's definitely the combination of like the Gemini parts and the eighth house part. Because yeah, when I look at my childhood self, I see yeah just a lot of like asking questions, curiosity. I want to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, start many projects. But I also experienced like an undercurrent of like mystery and intensity that always
Mm.
felt like I mean, I grew up as an only child, single mom, so I had no one else I could really share it with. But when I did get precious moments to share what I would go through, which was various abuse and stuff like that, it was so precious. I would talk to the girls on the swing set in elementary school about like my life, and that would be like the safe space for the eighth house taboo fourth grade edition.
Wow.
And
I
talking on
love
the swing
that.
set is also very Gemini, I feel like, just the talking on the swing
Yeah.
set.
Yeah, it's actually like it's very funny because as I was writing that little like reflection, like I was kind of imagining that like the cure is during recess. It's like on the
Yeah.
blacktop, like the
Yeah.
teacher's gone and like the kids just get to like unmask and like yeah, just that's
Another
pretty
Gemini eighth
cool.
house expression of that that just came to my mind, which is more of a fun, playful one, was like me and two friends, and I think it was fourth grade. We would go to the tree that was far away from their playground and where everyone else would be, and try to come up with a swear word for every letter of the alphabet. Tee hee hee. That was that was a pretty fun eighth house Gemini vibe too in my narrative of it.
That yeah, the whole alphabet, like that's so Gemini too. Like the love of like words and like yeah, like what's
Yeah, a little
all the
encyclopedic
bad
with it.
words.
Yeah, I'm curious about the conjunctions here. So you have like the Sun conjunct Mercury and Venus. So they're inseparable. And I'm curious like how that defines differently your experience of communication or selfhood or even relationships, intimacy, that they're all supportive of one another.
In some ways, I think the conjunction makes it like harder for me to actually see, and maybe others could even see that better because they all like operate as one. But one
Mm-hmm.
thing I have noticed overall of that conjunction is mostly in like transits. Like when a transiting planet is hitting each of those, all within, well, depending on the span, but a week, 2 weeks, I can kind of feel like something. Let's say it's like the just Venus conjunctions, like the Venus conjunction first. Like I feel that like a friendship, like oh, I'm just relaxing in my values, and then I'm thinking about it, and then there's a slight break. And then it integrates within myself. So I always feel the 3, 4, 7,
Oh,
with the
wow.
slight delay of like something integrating into myself transit wise.
That's a really cool way of looking at it. I never thought about like, yeah, like the process or progression, like by degrees of like, oh, like this part gets the integration, like like there's a little delay or lag time or something.
Yeah, I feel that. But
Yeah.
yeah, other than that, I'm not sure. I feel like I just expressed my mega Gemini-ness through all of that. Like it's just so self-identified. The sun as kind of the ego or self-identity in some sense, being close to both Mercury and Venus. They all just feel like very wrapped up in about the same box. I feel like overall with like my personal planets having like three in Gemini eighth house and two in Aries seventh house just feels like there's kind of two pretty distinct boxes of myself that I can easily kind of just narrate through those lenses to break it
Yeah,
down to just the personal. Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting to like I'm thinking about how like you have such a relational chart, right? Like with so much
Yeah.
in the seventh house and the eighth house. Um, and I'm sort of just like wondering in this moment, like how that kind of does actually maybe make it harder for a person to see themselves because it's often like through the reflection of
Yes. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Being a Libra rising and then multiple planets in the seventh house. I talked about this with my therapist on Friday morning, actually. Like, I feel like sometimes I can't even control it. It's like I do feel like I can internalize how another kind of sees me. And that could be for better or for worse. If I surround myself with people who care about me and see the best in me, I feel like that lifts me up. But yeah, I have also previously internalized people's perceptions of me that are negative. So yeah, the seventh house Libra vibes are there too.
yeah.
But I find it fascinating that your moon's in Aries. So you have like the independence within relationship. And so like that's fascinating. Does that ever help you with distinguishing or differentiating yourself from another?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I feel like especially in my late teens, early 20s, like I think I was more of like a people pleaser archetype and maybe not quite as aware of like my emotional needs. Um, but now I feel like they come up much more like naturally. But I'm also I don't know, I'm just currently in a very non intimate relationship era and I'm just like embracing the Aries parts for just like my own like needs right now, which just feels nice. And it comes up in any relationship, friendship, stuff like that too.
Yeah, I feel like that alone time to sort of recover, which yeah, it sound like I feel like when I say that it has like water sign flavors, but like also we're talking about the moon, so it is sort of like this way that you would recover for your own self, but like yeah, I feel that like pull of the like it's conditioning right from childhood too, because it's the moon, right? That's just kind of a fact about the moon, right? It's something about like oh, like having to survive relationships and like, those early relationships, like we're stuck with our parents. Like we are just like, okay, I'm gonna have to survive this. Yeah, and so I also imagine, and like, I know a lot of things about you too. So, but I'm like, yeah, like it's like this feeling of like wanting that closeness and connection, but also needing like the safety of space in order to not like, yeah, like those protective parts, like, oh, like only so close or something like that. I don't know. How does that land for you?
Well, I was just kind of noticing what was coming up as you said that, and something that came up was something I learned recently. When I look up like Sabian symbols connected to each degree of astrology, I recently learned that you could break down any one sign's 30 degrees into, I think it was like 5 or 6 segments. I never
Mhm.
knew this, and the 26 degree Aries segment is proficiency. And that just like stuck with me because I do feel like, Aries as a general archetype is just like blah, and that could be kind of messy in a sense, but being like a later Aries placement, it does feel like sometimes maybe I do have like impulsive little fiery moments, but like there's like a very deep like lesson or a learning or a temperance in like how I go through those. So yeah, that just came up for me.
That's interesting. Yeah, proficiency.
Yeah, just trying to get not perfect, but just like the ideal emotional containment and or expression, depending on the
Yeah.
context.
So what is that for you? The ideal emotional expression?
God, I don't even know. I'm very Gemini right now because I feel like the words are coming out of my mouth faster than I can process. Like, I said that, and now it's like, um, I don't know. Like, I guess like just being around people who make me feel like my inner child is welcome here, even when it's like a big feeling. My band just played a show like 2 weeks ago, and someone said to me like, every time I look at you, you're always smiling, and that's because in that context, my moon in Aries felt like just so alive. I had like 7 friends come see my band who hadn't seen my band before. The seventh house part was very activated through that, and I just felt so just like, wow, like in a fiery but like also grounded way.
Yeah. I was totally thinking of your, like your music and like the type of music that you play
Mm,
and are into. And I think I said this to you once. I'm like, oh, like there's like your Aries moon is kind of like you're like this chill guy, but then like the music you listen to is like, whoa, like it's
yeah. Another
yeah.
thing with the Aries moon too, like it being like private, like I feel like I fundamentally do like feel my life as if it is an epic hero's journey that is like life or death battle kind of vibe. I feel that inside about like everything.
Mm,
Wow, but with the Gemini and the Libra, like there's this sense
I,
of
I could dance through it.
yeah, like you wouldn't necessarily know you had that fire, right? So I
Yep.
love that you're characterizing it as an inner experience, like the way you felt on stage or with your friends there. Like there's
Yes.
this inner aliveness and fire that blooms in your heart, and yet on the outside you might occur more like mellow, like Sarah was saying.
Am I mellow? Yeah, I guess the Libra rising might mellow me a little bit. And I think the Gemini parts is that's my whimsy at best.
Hmm.
The Mars and Aries, I feel like I just like to like get shit done immediately and like be very direct and like just take initiative when I can.
Hmm.
And then I also, I have the all of my Gemini parts squaring Jupiter, and I'm definitely always aware of that. Like my dreams a little bit too big, bought a little bit too much, splurged a little. Um, and it's specifically the square to Virgo too. Like I've actually been thinking about how there is just like oh, it could be just like a little bit better. We could actually do it like this, but it's not always like needed in that kind of way.
yeah, like improvement overdone or something. Like that's
Yeah.
good. Like yeah, actually that makes me wonder. And like to me, this ties in like maybe like the Gemini Virgo conversation, like when are we finished with something? Like when is it enough? When is it like or does it have to be finished? Like can it just be like an ongoing I'm yeah, I'm
Hmm.
curious about like I'm specifically thinking of like your process with your Oracle deck.
With the Oracle deck, I really did feel like I had the help of Saturn's presence. Like it was most of the work of it was done like more exactly in my Saturn return and slight after. And so I actually felt like during that I did not feel quite as much as like the negative Jupiter square Gemini parts effect. I felt pretty just like this is like the next step. This is the next step. This is the next step.
Saturn was guiding you through.
Yeah, Saturn transiting my fifth house of creativity and art and children, and that was pretty on point for my creation there.
Yeah, that was your baby. It's very
Yep.
cool.
And now I get to bring it to a flea market next in June, which is really exciting.
That's fun. Yeah, it's in the world and now you get to raise it sort of like
Yep.
it's your
Yep.
child.
It's being like a teen now, not quite a teen, but yeah, it's definitely growing up. I was also talking to my Sagittarius friend yesterday about just the polarity of Gemini and Sagittarius, and I always resonate with like how Gemini has like the raw data, all the information, the encyclopedic knowledge, and then Sagittarius works to kind of bring it into a whole, bring it into a philosophy, a bigger picture, and asking like the but why questions. Like for me, like yes, Gemini does relate to curiosity, I find, and but when I think of like why. Like that feels really Sagittarius to me also. Like Gemini, like my Gemini feeling, I feel like is just like, oh, there's this and this and this and this and this and this and that's cool. Not as much kind of an analysis of the quality of it all.
That totally makes sense. Melissa, I'm curious if that's hitting for you too with your Gemini Sagittarius parts in your chart.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a struggle bus though, because I'm a Sag moon and South node. So I'm supposed to be evolving more towards curiosity. I think I'm getting better at that actually. Like there's so many things I held true and thought were like 100%, and I've become more like, I have so many blind spots. I don't know what I don't know. I've been humbled through life to be a little bit more exploratory and beginner's mind. However, I am also someone who likes to synthesize disparate ideas, so like Gemini, but like to kind of create a life philosophy and
Hmm.
present like a new version of truth that may or may not be valid in like 5 years, right? So I still like the coalescing and the belief defining and the meaning seeking so much that it's really hard for me to like not want to loop back into the Sag, right? Because like
Wow.
I'll be like, oh, this is my new life philosophy. Oh, never mind, that was a cult. Or no, this is my new favorite therapy model. No, actually, that one's helping me more. This is my new favorite kind of person to hang out with or date. You know what? That was a red flag I didn't see before. So I always have to be evolving, but I also feel like the desire to concretize it is so strong in me. And it almost still seems like the
Wow.
end point when really it's probably the beginning point and I have to keep deconstructing it, you know?
That is very well said. The desire to concretize it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like maybe, yeah, when you said that, like me without any Sagittarius parts, I'm like, I never want to concretize it. Let's just keep it in the raw data. Just give me a dictionary. Like, yeah, I love just like, even when I was young, I like just like pure lists of stuff. Like, we don't need to make anything of this. Just give me the list.
Well,
That's
I have a
very
Virgo
cool.
rising, so like give me the list, but then I'm going to sort it and
Oh, yep.
quantify it in green, put it in
Yep.
order of priority.
Maybe
Yeah.
my Libra rising is like, wow, the list is just so pretty.
That's really funny. My Virgo rising parts are like, the list made me feel like I did something, but then I didn't get anything done. So
Oh,
no, it's like not good enough.
oof.
Sometimes I won't do the list. And actually, like my workaround for that is I now prefer to do a got done list instead of a to-do list because the to-do list like puts this pressure of like, this is what you have to do. And the got done list is like, I'm celebrating what I already.
I love
Sarah, I
that.
swear I had that idea like in my 20s and I gave myself gold stars and shit. Like we had the same idea to get around that Virgo rising criticism.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but Melissa, like thinking about your chart and like the Gemini Sagittarius like loop that you're kind of in, I feel like I repeat myself a lot about things, but like none of that's wrong, right? Like if it's in your chart, it's part of your path to whatever. And the moon, like yes, you have your south node there, so maybe that's pointing to like this flavor of Sagittarian energy is for you to evolve out of. But your chart is also saying, but return to Sagittarius energy to recover. And I'm imagining that as like a home base, right? Like with the moon, I know it's in your fourth house too. So
Yeah.
it's like go out into Gemini, like whimsy and frolic and check things out. But like in the meantime, like when you get home, it is actually necessary for your, well-being basically to, okay, like let me take what I've learned and put it into a philosophy, knowing that it's okay to change my mind about that later, but it gives me a sense of security in the meantime.
It's like a weird form of internal sturdiness. Even though
Mm,
I know meaning evolves and changes, I still need it right now. And like that, also the feeling of the retreat, having the moon in the fourth, or even in your case, Greg, having the moon in your seventh, right? Like going into relationship for me, the 10th house, going out into the world and then retreating back into myself. It's like making meaning and making sense of the relationships and the interactions I just had, but I need time to recover and like synthesize my new formula for interaction. It's fascinating. It's like it's almost like an internal machinery, my Sag, but also with the help of Virgo. Yeah.
Interesting. On a meta level, especially hearing like the South Node Sag stuff, like it makes me think of like the bigger concept of paradoxes in the chart and how that's inherently like a very Gemini thing.
Yeah.
Like actually one of my first thoughts this morning before this podcast, like I was thinking about how like Gemini, I feel like has a certain comfort with paradox
Mm.
that at best, and in not all cases, we have many cases where this is not true. I think that can be an antidote to like hypocrisy in a sense, because sometimes when people are not comfortable with paradox, then they lock into like one side of the black and white. But like I feel like if you can truly toe the line of like the both and kind of, then there's like a certain peace there.
Absolutely. I think that that's why I love being an IFS therapist and doing this podcast with you all, because if we contain multitudes, we're going to contain contradictions. And this is a model that allows all of it to be true. without anything being devalued or excluded.
I love that. I feel the biggest paradox in my chart is definitely like the midheaven in Cancer with the South Node, and vice versa. Like, because that feels like when I was first learning astrology, I was like, okay, these are like two different expressions of a goal or somewhere that I'm heading in some sense. And I remember when I was like 20, I kind of was like, where I'm heading is where I've been, and where I've been is where I'm heading, and that like stuck in my head as like a beautiful kind of a koan for that, I suppose.
Yeah, so your Cancer South Node and Capricorn North Node. So tell me about that experience for you.
I feel like that's like it's well, I'll tell you in the very present moment. I just told Sarah this, but I have Astro dice. Maybe you know about them too. I
Hmm.
got the set of the four, and I rolled them right before this meeting, and I got the North Node in Capricorn in the fourth house. Mine's natally in the third, and I actually got 2 degrees. Mine's, yeah, 1 degree. So I rolled very close to my actual placement, which is wild. But I actually don't feel like I totally understand my North Node in Capricorn. I feel like Sarah might actually understand it better than me, even. I'm curious what you have to say about that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's just also like a function of the North Node too in anyone's chart. Like I always know my North Node by the fact that it is a blind spot for me. And like even though I'm like conscious of it, done a lot of work towards it, like it's like a moving target, right? It's like the lighthouse that actually just kind of keeps moving, even if you're trying to move towards it. Um, yeah, but it's interesting. Like a Capricorn North Node is like moving away from like, and it's okay. So when we talk about the nodes, like the South Node, we're always kind of looking at it from like, what are some of the burdens that your soul is here to kind of recover from or progress through? So I'm definitely not talking shit on Cancer, although there's lots of shit to be talked on it, to be fair. But like moving away from like the Cancer South Node to me is about moving towards like commitment, stability. It's like moving away from the baby archetype
Mm-hmm.
into the, I'm not calling you a baby exactly, but like moving towards
Okay.
like the Capricorn, like, oh, like solidity. And in the third house too, it's like if I think about your life, and I hope it's okay to share a little bit about like the movement of your life, like
Mm-hmm.
that South Node in Cancer in the ninth house, like you live very far away from where you were raised, and you were raised very far away from where you were born,
Oh, that's
right?
interesting. Yeah, I actually didn't quite think about the way you said that. That really hit. Yeah, I feel that. And then it also makes me think about like Capricorn North Node as kind of like probably the most like feels like traditional masculine kind of energy in my chart. And third house specifically like my local community and the people that I'm, in connection with around me every day. Like I do feel like there actually is like a bit of a leader part of me. Like I take the initiative with getting things together. We're going to be trying to buy a couch for our house today. I'm going to be taking the lead with that. I'm going to be doing the driving, the loading in. I think I'll buy it. So there's definitely like, yeah, like I'm the,
That's some daddy energy.
yeah, yeah, I think it is that. So yeah, I do feel that, especially as Sarah, you reflected it back to me. But then like the Cancer midheaven, that feels like maybe it's the more self-protective parts of Cancer developing. No, actually, I just had an intuition mid-thought Gemini moment. Um, one thing I always loved about the an idea of the Cancer archetype is that if there's a goal, like it doesn't necessarily go right towards it. It might spiral beautifully towards it and around it. And midheaven, for me, I see that as part of like my vocation, my life's purpose, and I'm starting to feel a deeper contentment with the slow, intuitive flow towards what that may be. So that's a way that I feel like tapping into more of kind of my a feminine trust of the universe while still embodying the challenge of like the North Node of Capricorn, something like that.
I think the world would be healthier if a lot of men conceptualize things that way, right? Or it's like we're moving towards responsibility, practicality, structure, stability, and also not abandoning the feminine intuition, the principle of nurturance or self-reflection or anything that we would characterize as traditional. And by the way, doesn't mean we're really pigeonholing people as masculine or feminine, but traditionally these would be the archetypes around those
The
genders. So
energy. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. I had a thought and I just lost it. And that's my Gemini part.
Very
Like, where
Gemini of you.
I'm really excited Uranus entering into Gemini and the way that that's going to be aspecting all of my placements in the earlier stages of this transit. I don't
Oh
know if I
yeah.
explicitly feel it yet. It's such a long-term transit, but I guess when I think of like Uranus, there's that the independence streak, the desire for liberation of some sort, definitely freedom. And after going through a breakup last year, I've very slowly been feeling more into the energy of like almost like my inner fairy vibe of just like I just want to like be free and like experience things in a way that allows me to grow and liberate and yeah, it just feels exciting.
Does sound exciting. Yeah, I feel like that Uranian energy is also like you're individuating. Like it's like, oh, like this is
Yeah.
like just for me, you know. Like I think about like the inner teen too with like the Uranus
Mm.
vibes, but then also with Gemini, like yeah, there's a lot more like flexibility to it. There's a lot, I don't know. I almost see it as like returning to the enlightened selfishness of adolescence.
Cool. I like that
You know,
sentence.
where you're just like, whatever, mom, I don't care. This is me. Like, you're not gonna stop me.
Wow, 7 years of that? Oh my.
We're all going to regress to move forward. It's going to be
Yes.
ultimately very edifying. But in the
Re
meantime, we might seem like little rebels.
Regression in service of transcendence. I love that.
I think it's necessary.
And I
Sarah,
think
where is
also,
your Gemini? Which house?
10th house of Gemini, midheaven, and then Chiron and Gemini.
Right, as well as me. Okay, great. So you're also
Yeah.
going to experience something with your career, a little shakeup.
Yeah, for some reason that like it's interesting because I feel like all these like I had Jupiter hit my midheaven right around the time that I started my private practice, almost 2 years ago exactly. I was like, oh, no bad charts. Like, of course, like I have to do this, the workshop, like everything just like did. Jupiter and Gemini was like, here are all your gifts of ideas. Like, go forth. So I have parts of me that are like, Uranus, like, what's this gonna be? Especially from it just coming off my moon in Taurus. I'm like, but I also am open to the possibility of, you know, it could be something truly liberating and unexpected. Like
yeah.
just leaning into the unexpected of like, yeah, like I don't know what that's going to be. And as much as my Virgo parts want to figure it out and my Cancer parts want to like prepare a little shell to hide in, it's like, no, like let's just roll with this. And
Yeah. I think with Uranus, all you really can do is expect the unexpected. I feel like whereas other long-term transits can like leave like just an overall coding, I feel like some Uranus transits can though, you may be an aspect um for like 2 years, it could just be like one moment that is like the lightning bolt moment.
yeah, that's actually a cool way to think about it too. Like it's so unexpected that like within the time span, like you don't know when the lightning bolt is going to, it's like could be any time
Yeah.
in this chunk of time.
Yep.
Yeah, Uranus is like, I don't live by your rules. I'm gonna strike whenever I want to. Like you can't map that out. You
Mm-mm.
can't like look at the transits and figure that out.
I was like, what am I gonna like join the circus? I already have my dream career. What's gonna happen? So I have parts that are like, how can I keep changing? I like what I'm doing, but I think sometimes it's just looking at like what's the evolution on what you're already doing. Like what you said,
Yeah.
Sarah. I remember when you started your private practice, and I was so excited for you for that transit because I did see how everything lined up for you. So I love how like we're in co-creation with the universe. We don't have to like control or judge what's happening, but like use it as a momentum to get into a flow state with what's going to happen, right?
How do you both experience Chiron and Gemini overall? That being generational, I just don't know as much about it. What's your felt sense?
For me, like definitely it was it almost feels like this, and I've gotten better with it now, but it's still there. Like this part that's like, I don't know when it's okay for me to speak. I don't want to look stupid. I need to like already have an answer before in my own mind before I ask the question. Like, so it feels like this wounding that like needs more Gemini energy to sort of like soften it and give it permission to. So yeah, a lot of what I wrote in the little IFS
Yeah, I was
reflection was like
thinking
me
that.
thinking about my Gemini like wounded parts that like need more like permission to just like bounce ideas around in safe places. And I do feel like I've really just like even in boundaries, just like creating like friendships, relationships, like making sure that I have spaces where it's possible to do that. And now, like when I feel that wound hit, I'm like, oh, like I forgot about this. Like this isn't like it's very familiar, but it also feels a little bit like time travel. I'm like, whoa, like where do my words go? Like what's happening? Why can't I? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Cool.
relate to that, Sarah. I have yeah, perimenopause brain fog. So like lately it's been like I literally can't find words, and that's so frustrating for me as a Mercury Mars Gemini, where I'm usually like but every now and then I'll just be like I can't locate a word. And then growing up just not being able to be assertive and speak my truth. So I notice like sometimes if I'm being more authoritative or owning my power more, I will stutter, and I'll actually do social media videos, right? And I'll be like doing a reel. And if I'm in the moment, in my feelings, I'll be able to like get it right out. But if I start to hesitate or think about what I'm saying, I completely like freeze. And so I have to do multiple takes to get me back into the person that was going to say the statement in the first place. So it's like there's the part of me that will shut me down and the part of me that knows how to just roll with it. And I've been really experiencing a lot of whiplash between the two of them lately.
Wow. Yeah, that I can relate to that. Like the disconnect. Like once the stumble has happened, it's like whoop, like the channel
Mhm.
just changed in here and like what was I saying?
Yeah.
It's like gone. Yeah. Um, before we get to the end of this, Greg, I would love to hear, is there anything out there in pop astrology about Gemini or Geminis that you would like to set the record straight on or have a different take on?
I bet. Yeah, sure. Let's see. I mean, I feel like Geminis just get like a lot of like hate unnecessarily overall. Um, I never fully understand why. I guess there are some toxic Geminis out there, but it's just like maybe people can't quite always wrap their mind around like a Gemini and like their um lightness with paradoxicality. So yeah, I feel like I've just always felt like Gemini hate throughout life, and I'm just like I don't really ascribe to that. There's so many cool Geminis out there. Trying to think of any of the, like I feel like overall, I mean, we all know like most of the best rappers there ever were are mostly Geminis. Tupac, Biggie, Kendrick.
Mhm.
Controversial these days, but Kanye is Gemini. Uh, yeah, just so many good there's wordsmiths, you know. And yeah, Scorpios also get a lot of hate unnecessarily too. And being a Gemini in the eighth house, I'm just like I got both of that. I need to just embrace like the misunderstood.
The
Yeah, everyone thinks that
misunderstood.
we're just gossiping and cheating on everybody. Like it's a very, yeah,
Yeah, the
eighth house.
gossip part I never really resonated with, even when I was like young and undeveloped as a Gemini. Um, I'm never that interested in gossip, though I do like. I feel like maybe for me, like I feel like maybe I'm more okay, like self-accepting around doom scrolling than other people. So maybe that's a Gemini thing. Like I just enjoy having my moments where I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna consume like all this like brief media for a little bit, and it actually I think it does kind of enrich me sometimes. This came up in therapy recently around like me talking about like sometimes I wake up at 5 a.m. and I go on my phone and my therapist's like, oh well, that's your problem. I'm like, no, actually I love that.
I totally agree with you. Sometimes it's like a shot of, I don't even know, ideas that you need
Yeah,
to like
yeah.
rejuvenate yourself.
And entertainment at the least, yeah. I love cracking up on the toilet watching TikToks.
That's quite a way to end a podcast.
A very relatable human experience. But yeah, even just to like give yeah, yourself permission for that. Like it doesn't have to be, oh, yeah.
Oh, and I would also say I think people would understand Geminis more if they get that they're as they talk, that is like just how they're processing ideas and just like let them cook, just let them cook.
Yeah, yeah, like the processing aloud or processing like in real time
Yep,
kind of
yep,
thing.
yep, and
Right. It's
Yeah.
that's
not the definitive word on the subject.
right, and that's why yeah, it can appear like malleable or changeable, but that's just because you know we view that communication as an experiment,
Right, that's
testing
so
ground.
interesting. Yeah. So I have Mercury in Cancer and like I will retreat to my little cave and then process and then you've probably both experienced this from me, then come back like 2 days later with like, okay, I've thought it all out and here's all my da 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 da. But like, yeah, that's such a good insight that like the Gemini processing, if you have Mercury and Gemini or even any other Gemini parts, it's like there's something about like Gemini needs like connection and reflection. So it's like, da, 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 like it's gotta be
Yeah.
processed while it's
Yeah,
coming
we
out.
need feedback to understand more
Yes.
what we're thinking.
Mm,
Yes, that's the key component of it. Yeah.
feedback. Wow. Yeah.
But
Questions. So it's actually really hard for me sometimes to do like videos or podcasts or whatever. If I was to do a solo podcast, I knew it wouldn't be for me because I need someone to talk to me to bounce ideas off of. So yeah.
Wow.
I also do still engage in the post process too. Like sometimes I will say something and then like chew on it a little bit more afterwards, and that will change too. So I can still relate to some of that as well. Like it's not all just I have that post process part too in some way.
Yeah, I was thinking about like Gemini, Cancer, friendships and relationships, and like it's sort of an unlikely, like if you look in an astrology book, it's not like a likely pairing exactly in their, kind of
Hmm.
regimented ways of looking at things. But I think, and even like internally, if you have like Cancer parts in your chart and Gemini parts in your
Mhm.
chart, like I feel like what they do for each other is like Cancer like hold space, and like that's really nice for Gemini to be able to just like do that out loud processing.
Hmm.
And then it feels really nice for Cancer to like have someone ask them questions and like, oh, you're like interested in my world too. And yeah, like I think there's just like a nice balance between that it sounds like also happens, internally too when you have, right, like your Cancer deeper processing part maybe in your 10th house or your South Node. And like Melissa is a Cancer sun and has all the Gemini parts too. So yeah, like that kind of balancing between the asking questions and taking time to process.
Yes, I don't think I'd have friends if I couldn't also hold space. I'd just talk them out of this stratosphere. So it's great to have friends like Sarah who can hold. And then I also appreciate how thoughtful and conscientious you are, Sarah. Like there's something about like how I can tell you reflected before you speak, especially about something serious. If you're like wanting to check in with me about something, I'm like, I can tell she thought this through, and I can tell that I mean a lot to her. Like the weight of the mattering, I feel that in you because you are so, internal when you process. So,
Oh, I love that.
yeah.
This has been a fun hang. Thank you so much, Greg. This was a really fun and interesting and insightful conversation. And it's just always good to connect with like-minded people and people that are important to me. So thank you for spending your afternoon, or I guess morning for you, with us.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I love No Bad Charts. Y'all are both awesome, and I love the way you hold this space. This was really, really cool experience.